Guanajuato, Mexico, one of the most colourful cities in the country. An historic colonial city that is popular with students and tourists alike. It's not all colour and sunshine, however. Guanajuato is a place with a grisly past. So let's put our sombreros on and find out about the dark side of Guanajuato. Before we get into it, I just want to let you guys know that some of the footage and the stories in this video are a little bit gruesome and a little bit graphic. So if you're eating your dinner, you might want to come back to it a bit later. Good morning everyone and welcome to the busy streets of Guanajuato. We're heading to the Callejón del Beso, the alleyway of the kiss. This alleyway is a setting for Mexico's very own Romeo and Juliet story. Here in the back streets of Guanajuato you'll find many alleys, but none so famous as the Alley of the Kiss. According to local legend, a wealthy family lived in one of the buildings that helped create the alley, and their daughter, whose bedroom window looks out onto the alley, fell in love with a young man from the wrong side of the tracks. The young man rented out a room across from hers, and they would secretly meet and kiss across the tiny alley. Unfortunately for the besotted couple, the girl's father found out, and in a fit of rage, stabbed his daughter to death. The young man was heartbroken and took his own life. Today it's a major tourist attraction, and the tradition is to kiss your partner in the alleyway. Well, I'm here on my own, guys, so I've got no one to kiss, so it's going to have to be you, I'm afraid. ¿Están esperando, chicas? Sí. Para besar. Así es. Ya me lo llegan. Even KFCs in this city look colourful. And where we're headed next is El Museo de las Momias, the Mummies Museum. People being mummified here in Guanajuato weren't like the rich people in ancient Egypt. In comparison to the elaborate mummification process of pharaohs like Tutankhamun, the mummification process here of the good folk of Guanajuato was somewhat more rudimentary. From 1865 to 1958, the town of Guanajuato, Mexico, required that relatives pay a grave tax for their deceased. If the relatives couldn't pay for 3 years in a row, the deceased loved ones were promptly dug up and evicted. Due to the extremely dry conditions of the soil, the corpses often came up as well-preserved mummies. Although the practice was ended in 1958, the mummies were still kept in a museum. At first they were simply propped up against the wall, where strange men could kiss them. Strange. There was even a 1970s B-movie made called Santo vs. Las Momias de Guanajuato. Because these mummies are formed naturally, they're generally more gruesome looking than your standard Egyptian mummy. With gaunt and twisted faces, mummies are often covered in the tattered rags they are buried in. Perhaps the most shocking of all are the child mummies. Especially this. The world's smallest mummy, no larger than a loaf of bread, and this is his mother. Other mummies are incomplete. The museum also has a crypt. This is the finger of a murdered man found in the suspect's house after the suspect had died. And here we find a mummified fetus found in the tomb of a lady who committed suicide due to the shame of her becoming pregnant outside of marriage. Bizarrely, the lady's body rotted away, while the fetus remained mummified. Well, that's 2 of the 3 attractions done. Next up we're heading to La Casa de los Lamentos, the House of the Laments, where a real psychopathic serial killer used to live. Unfortunately, this museum was a bit kitschy, pretty corny, and in my opinion, pretty naff. The story behind the house, though, is pretty interesting. In the 1890s, Tadeo Mejia became unhinged after his wife Constanza died in an assault. He made delusional attempts to contact his dead spouse, which led to a murderous spree. It's said the groans and the shrieks of Mejia's victims still echo through the mansion where his sinister deeds were carried out. Local legend relates that Mejia suffered from psychosis in the wake of his wife's death and would stop at nothing to be reunited with her. He consulted a witch who instructed him in bizarre, ghastly rituals of human sacrifice, all in an attempt to contact Constanza. It's unknown how many murders Mejia went on to commit, but several human remains were discovered in the house's basement, along with satanic imagery. Mejia eventually killed himself, taking the knowledge of how many lives he had truly claimed to the grave. Reports of lingering screams and the cries of Mejia's victims have lent the house its descriptive name, the House of the Laments. One of the creepier items on display is this portrait of Mejia and his wife Constanza in happier times. Before we knew it, we were being shuffled out the door and the guide was asking us for tips. My personal tip would be, if you're going to visit, don't use the guide. Well guys, that was a little bit corny, a little bit kitschy, but hope you enjoyed it anyway. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, feel free to give me a thumbs down. As always, thank you very much for watching. See you soon.